So I am Gila Nehemia. I'm here with Esther, and you are tuned into Collaboration Ascension Healing. I am a sacred erotic self-love intimacy mentor, poet, and mystic. And I'm so excited that Esther is here. I want to say a few words about her. And those of you who are watching, or anyone actually, comes in to watch, you can leave the questions for after the interview is over. And even after the interview is done, you're listening to the replay, feel free to ask any questions. We will be monitoring it and we will answer any of them. And we are here to talk about energy and consciousness, really releasing resistance to be in the energetic flow. Esther is an energy transformation and business coach. She supports women at a midlife crossroads, finding their true purpose and to create their own unique passionpreneur business to bring joy and expansion to their lives. So important right now, I believe.
Definitely. Yeah.
So Esther, first, thank you for being here.
Thank you, Gila. It's a real pleasure to be here and to be an honored guest.
Thank you so much, and be sure to stay until the end because Esther has a free gift that she's going to be offering to you. So Esther, I wanted to ask you, how did you get to be an energy transformation coach? How did that even occur?
Right. Okay. So it all started in the wake of a business that I ran for 5 years, a coffee shop endeavor in my local town in South Wales in the United Kingdom, and it accompanied a lot of seismic changes in my life. So obviously one being that I started blossoming as an entrepreneur, but two, I also hit a real big wall in terms of a financial crisis when we decided to expand out to a second shop in Cardiff. We nearly lost the roof over our heads because it was used as security against some lease finance that we took out to purchase some of the equipment that we needed. And we underestimated the competition and overestimated our ability to stand out and be unique. So we were, but we didn't have enough cash flow to see us through. We traded just for 6 months there and we decided to call it a day because my husband's energy, which I knew was energy, then was started to spiral out of control and nosedive, and I could see he was going into depression. And he'd been there before and nearly hit rock bottom when, he nearly lost his life. So I knew the warning signs and I just thought, no, call it a day, we move on. And then not long after that, in the following year when we decided the same year in 2014, my mother left us, and that was a big hit on me emotionally. And so after that, I went through a lot of self-evaluation. Is this really at the time I didn't know, I just thought, is this really fulfilling my purpose? Am I really lit up from within? Initially I was, because I was in my flow. I was baking beautiful cakes, German cakes, because my mother was German, and I was interacting with customers, and I loved the person-to-person contact. So I knew I was in flow then in the initial years, but branching out that second shop, undertaking huge risk, and what I noticed only afterwards, once I started working on the energy, I realized that I wasn't in flow at that point, and my heart was in traction. It was literally compressed, and I was always anxious and worried. And that then, you do spiral out of control and you go into this negative vortex. But I only realized that afterwards. So after coming out, I think I realized I didn't want to carry on with that business. It was no longer my dharma. And to 2015, I underwent sort of a reflection, and in a reflection, what is it I want to do with my life? And for some reason, I was always being called to study therapies. I was always interested in reflexology, but I didn't do it. Went straight into that. Because what came across my radar was a course to study massage, beauty therapies. So I studied that first and qualified then the following year. And then the following year after that, I did do the reflexology, and then I progressed on to facial reflexology and home facelift. And that led me up to 2019 when I took over a therapy center in at the Holiday Inn just outside Cardiff. But prior to that, also in 2016, when I just started this training in therapies, I think I was I became a network marketer. I was an ambassador for New Skin products, and they do a lot of self-development work. And through the self-development work, I read a lot. So then I started getting on that old bandwagon, sort of studying lots of different wonderful books, sort of Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. There were so many. The ideal thoughts creating our reality. And out of that, then suddenly I was connecting to people on Facebook that I'd never actually encountered before. And somebody came up, I was given a live from this beautiful mansion with a gorgeous scenery landscape in the background. And she was talking about this energy alignment method. And I thought, this sounds intriguing. And so I listened closely, and then I connected with her and I said, I'm fascinated. Can you tell me a little bit more? She said, well, your best bet is speaking to the creator of that. That's Yvette Taylor. So therefore, I reached out to her and we had a conversation. She said, we've got a free 15 days to flow experiment going on. Do you want to take part? So that was in, so that was in December, I think, 2016. Maybe I'm losing track of the years now, shows my age. And then I got the invitation after completing that. I was in a rush to do it. I was always feeling I was in catch up because it was like trying to fit it in with my therapies and so forth. And then I got an invitation to join the 10-month program. So that's when I went on that 10-month program. Fortunately, at the time, I'd had an inheritance pot of money from the sale of my parental home after my mother died. So I invested it in my training. So I paid off my loan for my therapies training, and I also invested in the Energy Alignment Method 10-month program. And then followed completion of that, then we had the invitation to become trained as mentors in this methodology. So that's when I started all down this path of energy awakening, I suppose, being more conscious and aware of my energy. And it was hard work because I also, through the energy alignment method, I had been struggling with my therapies because I was doing it mobilely at the time. And also I was trying to get back into a marketing type corporate career after having run my own business, and every door seemed to be shut in front of me. But after doing that 10-month program, or during that 10-month program, I hadn't really, and then as I started my mentor training, and then just before I started my mentor training, suddenly something shifted in my energy, and I had then 3 interviews, and I had 2 job offers, and I had a dilemma. So I used this system to help guide me make a decision, and I went for the marketing role as opposed to the part-time PA role, because it was fulfilling more my dharma, I suppose, appealing more to my creativity rather than just sort of playing somebody's secretary. Even at a high level, because it was a medical director, and it was also down the road, so that was the advantage. So that's why I was in a dilemma, because I could walk there. The other one was like a 25-minute drive. But I went for the other, and so doing the mentor training, I was juggling that with the full-time marketing job, plus then doing my therapies in the evening. So it's a full-on.
Yes.
So, yeah, I seem to be talented at attracting lots of activity into my life, and I think I'm a little bit of an adrenaline junkie because I thrive on doing things, and that's been my lesson in life, to learn to slow down and connect. And through so I went on another fellow EAM mentor training. She then did this sort of money manifesting workshop, and it was in person. That was in October 2018, and there I connected with a lovely lady, and she talked all about meditation as being her way of overcoming challenges and getting into flow as well. So I had then another tool that I used, and I started meditating, and I haven't stopped. And it's one of those magical tools that I use, and I encourage my clients to use too. We'll talk more about that later. But then that's how I got into the energy work. And it was only then when I qualified last May in 2019. Well, by the time I had the certificate, it was sort of summertime. And but I was stuck because I had no leeway, no free time. I was I'd taken on this therapy center in the April of that year. I was doing a full-time marketing role. I was a mother to I have 3 boys, but one had already moved out. So I still had 2 boys at home.
Wow. Goodness,
yeah, one starting A-levels and the other one still in primary school. So yeah, it was a bit of a juggling act, I would say. So it was like put to one side, but all the time there was this sense of tugging, whether it was in my heart, my head, or a combination. There was this tug to do something more with it. And I suppose the creator encourages, exhorts us to take this gift to the world. So it was always that internal, friction, I suppose, because I was always thinking I should be doing that, I should be, and never to use the word should because it's very contracting energy. And but I still was sitting there and I couldn't do anything about it. But then COVID hit, so it forced me to shut my therapy center. It put me on furlough from my marketing job, and that's when I started exploring this and stepping up and becoming more the coach I was meant to be. So that's where we are now.
Ah, fantastic. Wow. What a ride, right?
It was a ride. Yeah. So that's why I felt that my calling was to help women similarly stuck who'd been through a lot of turmoil in their lives, or really a junction where they really don't know which way to go, because I've been there and I could feel and empathize with that. So I feel that's my blessing in a way, because I've trodden that path and can help guide people back, not on the straight and narrow, but their true path, their true calling.
Right, exactly. And I think it's so important, because I think that especially, in our midlife, maybe our children have grown a little bit, and now we are really focusing on what is it that we want, that is our passion. Exactly. What is our dharma, like you said, what really makes us feel centered and peaceful, which is my next question of how important is energy consciousness, and how can it help us to lead a more peaceful, joyful, and abundant life? What is this peaceful energy consciousness? Is it possible?
Yeah. Firstly, you can recognize when you're not there, because when you're not there, things seem such a struggle, an uphill battle. And it when you're sort of working hard and you get very little results. When you put something, for example, if you're sort of into social media and you're putting things out there and you're thinking, why is nobody interacting with my post? No one. Why am I getting cricket? Why am I getting this sort of solid wall of silence? And it's because you're not working for a place of flow. And it's just being mindful of. It's not really telling you off. It's the energy starts with being aware, first of all. So aware that energy is everything. So when you come out of a place of resistant energy, so resistant energy is always thinking back about past misgivings, regrets, grievances, angry about anything, and also worried about the imminent future, what's around the corner. Indecisiveness is also a type of resistant energy. So when you're in flow, it's things suddenly come to you unbidden, almost magically. And and you're coming more from a place, not from the head, from the heart. So this is why I espouse the heart energy more than the head, because I had a powerful lesson. I'll tell you that in a minute, about that in a minute as well, to listen to my heart more than my head. And I think that's the trouble when we work in the corporate world. We are always told to think things through, strategize, analyze, dissect things, and plan, and be structured in our approach. But sometimes flow is not, often flow is not like that. Flow is weaving, it's going with the current, and it's allowing that trust to come through. So, and it comes very much from this heart center. So when we're in flow, things happen magically, positively. So we feel more upbeat, we feel lighter in our physical, because energy is lighter in us physically. So we're not so weighed down, because stuck energy drags our whole physical aspect down, not just our thoughts and our emotions, but it drags our physical presence down. So that's why depressed people find it hard to get out of bed, because it's literally a weight in their body that's dragging them down. And so we find it hard to get traction. But when we're in flow, we spring out of bed, we have a zest for life. Pennies, suddenly you pick up a penny from the floor, suddenly it appears out of nowhere. Or when you're driving, the lights suddenly turn green just when you need them to be, but you're not consciously thinking about it. You're not saying, I've got to make this green, and it's without that time pressure as well. Everything goes with flow and ease. And you allow yourself that time as well. You take a step back from the pressures and the real frenetic pedaling in our lives, the pedaling of that hamster wheel. And so if anything, that's why we teach a lot. I teach a lot about meditation and just slowing things down, because actually that's a space of co-creation. So I talk about co-creation a lot, because it's not just about our energy, it's about our connectedness, our connection with a divine source, with the universal powers. So we are, it's part of this idea of the quantum field, or the field, as Lynn McTaggart calls it in a famous book. Sorry, I'm getting a lot of sunlight coming across, that's blinding me. And so it's this idea that we need to stay in that positive flow, because it'll impact others, and we help them lower energy to vibrate, bring them up to a higher vibrational rate as well. And when we talk about vibrational rate, it's all linked to the emotions. That's why I place the emphasis on the heart, because that's the barometer of where our energy is. And so that's the reason why The Secret of such a success, because it talks a lot. The secret is love. When we really embrace and live through love. And I tell my clients always to face a situation, no matter how hard and arduous it is for them or for somebody else, to approach it almost to personify love, and to say, what would love do now in this circumstance? So I tell them almost to sort of disengage themselves from and think, how would love react? And that comes from Dwayne Dyer as well. He's a wonderful writer in this respect. He talks a lot about the intention from the heart. So so flow, then it literally, there's a car parking space where you think you'd never get a parking space because it's always jam-packed. It's all things that literally these serendipities, these things, the magical things that happen, and it's because it's because we're in flow, we're in a place of co-creation, things that happen through the quantum field that actually empower us and further fuels this flow. Yeah.
Yes, I think I completely agree. And I think that when we can truly tap into that flow and tap into our heart energy, we can realize all of these miracles are happening, and our thoughts get involved in this connection to our heart.
Yeah.
Which leads me to my next question. Why is it important to get out of our heads and into our heart? You answered that a bit, but I'd like you to get into more detail, because I think it's very important.
Yeah. So when I go back to the example of when I was running the business, the coffee shop. So when we were looking at the business and the expansion of it, I didn't listen to my heart. I listened to my head, more because I was guided also by my husband. He was doing the research. He said, it looks good on paper. We've done a beautiful business plan. It looked all beautiful. And something was not right in my heart. But I didn't realize it at the time. I wasn't so energy aware, energy conscious. So we went ahead, and then obviously that started a whole spiral, a whole negative spiral of events, and also took my feelings down, and that then caused this downward plunge in my energy. And that in itself is sort of self-prophesying, self-fulfilling, because when you start going down in your energy, then through the law of attraction and being part of this web, this energy field, then it does actually attract more of the same back into you. So I could see how it happened then. And also I had a powerful message sent from my heart. Well, it's coming from my heart. And we say with the energy alignment method, and I've recently interviewed Bruce Cry on this, because he's the former CEO of the Heart Math Institute. So he the Banquet of Life, and talking about heart coherence, and how it's important to be in one with the heart, because the heart is a very powerful electromagnetic transmitter. Could say it's like 5,000 times more powerful than the brain, and yet we forget. We always place the emphasis on our mental faculties and acuity rather than on our heart energy. And we forget that it's got its own brain, it's got its own neural network, and it's and it is very, very powerful. So when I was actually cleaning the shop, this is like after we'd let go of the Cardiff shop. So I was back in the local shop in our valley town in Blackwood, and I was cleaning away. And then my mother was actually, we just come back from a very short holiday, my mother and I, to celebrate my 50th birthday, and which my son kindly gave to me from a bit of his savings. Such a beautiful eldest son, yeah. And but she was not very well at all, and I think she saw that as her way of traveling the path that she trod with her husband, because they'd been to Southern Spain before. So for her, it was like a nostalgic trip. So she was reminiscing a lot when we were there. She said, this is where I went with your dad went before he passed away. And so for her, I think it was very, very important, even though she was so ill. I think she didn't reveal that at the time, but I realized afterwards, because she was hospitalized when as soon as she came back home, within a day, she was put into hospital, and she never came out. So 2 weeks later, she did die. But the night before she did died, I didn't know this because I'd just seen her the previous Saturday. So I was running the shop. I was managing three children. Well, one was helping me out in the shop. He was a teenager, 17-year-old, thereabouts. And the other one was still quite young. And so he was only 5 at the time. It's 5 going on 6. And I had this I was cleaning on the Thursday evening. I thought, I'm going to see her Saturday, but I suddenly had this compelling need or desire to go and visit her. And I thought, I don't know why, but I sort of squashed the idea. I squashed it flat. I said, no, my head got into gear, and I thought, no, I can't really. By the time I pick up some provisions for the shop on the way home, I fed the kids, and I've gone back out to Cardiff because it's like a 25-minute drive to the hospital. I would only have like quarter of an hour visiting time because that was they were quite strict there. It was in Heath Hospital in Cardiff. And I thought, it's not worth it. I'm going to see her on Saturday when I have more time. But I should listen, because that was my heart giving me a powerful message, because the very next morning at 7 o'clock, she had a powerful stroke from which she never recovered. And, I've never forgotten that. And to me, that is really one of my life's lessons, to listen to my heart, because it was giving me such a powerful signal. Yeah. And then a couple of years later, my husband and I went through a bit of a rough patch in the marriage. And I also thought, I need to be strong and almost like I need to be not hateful, baleful, but certainly I need to put him at a distance. I need to put him in his place, because I felt I was the one that trying to teach him a lesson, like you can't go through life, being not dishonest, but not being true to your promise, because for so long you've been promised to give up smoking, to spend more time with the kids, and nothing was happening in that way. So I thought I'd give him an ultimatum. So he moved out for a while, and strangely enough, in the 2 months that we split, lots of things happened, weird things happened in the house, and I can't explain. It's all to do with energy. So my youngest son had like a fire tablet, and for some reason, when it was charging overnight, next morning, the point looked burnt, where the charging point, so it was burnt out. Then it happened to his phone. Then it happened to my computer. Literally gave up the ghost, and it was quite a new computer as well. It's like over £1,000 computer. I tell you what, you can't make this up.
No,
that went haywire. That broke. So, but fortunately, it was still under guarantee. But it took a lot to get a replacement. It took me a while, and to get the data off it as well. So went through all these changes. Not only that. My husband was visiting at the time, so he was still living away, but he had visited, come into the house, and it was a Saturday. I remember it clearly. And my teenage son brought in his friend. A friend I'd never seen before. He said, "It's all right if Troy comes in the house?" And I said, "Yeah, fine, no problem." And I've got no evidence, but I knew I had my purse in my back. Well, I'm pretty sure I had. And for some reason, I was here in the living room with my husband talking. We were trying to sort things out, and they were in the kitchen stroke diner, and my bag was actually on the counter. And my youngest son said, "Oh, Dan's gone out with his friend, but he took £5 out of your purse." So first of all, I didn't know that he had done that. But when I went to get to my bag to go out, because I was due to go out to see a ballet with my sister. It was my birthday treat to her. It was a treat for her birthday. And I couldn't find my purse. And I thought, where's it gone? And then my youngest son said, oh, Daniel took some money out, but he put the purse back. I said, well, why is it not there? Because first of all, I thought I left it in a shop because I'd been shopping in the morning. So I was literally looking at the telephone number for the shop thinking I was going to ring that. But then my youngest son said there was a person. So I knew then it was in the house at the time. But where it went, I don't know. Now, I can't accuse anybody. I won't do that live here. But it's strange things, you know. Some things magically disappear for a reason. And then I went out the house, again, I jumped in the car, my eldest son came back and said, it's all right, I'll go to the cash point and lend you some money until you get your replacement cards. So, and then I jumped in my car, I turned the ignition, something went,
no.
And it was and it was a timer belt. So my car, literally the engine wrecked.
Oh my gosh.
You can't make this up.
No.
This is me. Because I wasn't being my authentic self. I was being something other than being true to my heart. Because I was not in flow. I was not listening to my heart resonance. As I said, but it only became clear afterwards. I think, why is all this happening? And I should have known then because I'd already done my energy alignment, because that was one of the issues that my husband brought up. He said, I don't think you should be doing this stuff. That's why we had another conflict, see. But because I was pushing him away and it felt alien to me to try and, because I'm not like that, you know, I'm a very loving and caring and nurturing type of person. That's why I went into therapies afterwards, after my coffee shop business. And so I knew that something was off kilter, and it was precisely that. And when we came back, we sat back afterwards and we went through literally a list of what we'd like to see improved in each other's life. We set a declaration to then try get back together and to make it work, and things then started to improve. But it's because I was not true to my heart energy, and that really was a very powerful lesson for me too.
Yes.
So the two things, you know, not listening to the message when I ignored the message to visit my mother before she died, and also then this idea, you know, this estrangement from my husband when it wasn't supposed to be, because it wasn't in alignment with my heart energy.
I love that, because I think it's so important. It's something that I work with as well, and we'll get to the next question in a minute. But I just think that when I finally, realized that, because I was living through my head like most of my life, and and when my husband passed away, and I was like, this just doesn't work anymore. I just can't do it. It's not producing. I might have results, but I'm not actually feeling good about it. It might create financial abundance, but I don't even feel abundant because I wasn't aligned. And it was only when I moved into my heart space and decided to do the things that I felt good about, did I just, I just felt better about my life, and my house changed, like my kids changed, and my friends changed. Like you were saying in the beginning, it's like all of these things suddenly came around because you became in the flow. So I love how you shared all of these examples. Because you can't make all of those things up. Like, come on. Like
you can't, no. And it's precisely that shows then the opposite of what can be, when you are more coherent with your heart energy, and when you're not so stuck in this sort of, contracted state, ignoring the heart and its powers, and being stuck in your head. So it is difficult for a lot of us who've spent a lifetime in a career working for somebody else, and working at their agenda, and thinking all the time, thinking, what can I do to improve my career? What can I do? The learnings I can do? But it's sometimes the wrong type of learning. So we don't learn enough about this energy piece and the importance of being truly connected to the heart. So
I'd even just add before the next question is that I just recently realized that until I work on my own, my heart and my pain, it's not only improving my life and maybe my my children's life and people around me, but it's also necessary for the planet. I would even say it's that big. It's necessary for humanity, because even though we might feel like we are, just a star, let's say, in the universe, or a speck of sand, that speck of sand, that drop in the ocean changes the whole pH of the ocean. So that's why I just feel the gravity of it, that's so important to trust your heart and to do what you feel passionate about.
Yeah.
Which brings me to my next question. Did you want to say something? I'm sorry.
No, it's true, because if you've read anything about Eckhart Tolle, he talks about this this up-leveling of the consciousness, of detaching from the ego and being more connected to our inner core and our spirit. And the ones that are leading the way, the pioneers, are these slightly more mature women that trailblazing, if you like, but are sharing their dharma, they're sharing their inspiration, their heart connection with others, because we come more from a place of the heart. The masculine energy has always been from the head. And so we're trying to realign, to readjust this balance in the world. So as you said, this because it's been so dominantly masculine, now we're trying to sort of raise the feminine energies. So it's not to overdo it, but to get it back in balance, because it has to be, everything about nature and the cosmos has to be in balance. So it has to be a 50-50 ratio, not too much masculine. So therefore, that's why we need to readjust, recalibrate, get back out of our head, get more into our heart, so that we get that. But it is connecting the two. So we have to align the thoughts with the emotions, and then what we also say in the energy alignment method, the hara, which is the center for creation and aligned action. So, but when we're in flow, when we're more connected to the heart, things come naturally to us. The inspiration comes, the creativity flows, and we find then the words to say that really, create that ripple effect in the world, so that it drops and then suddenly cascades, and we do attract them. We bring people up into that higher vibration energy.
Yes, I totally agree. I've actually been taking a class with Eckhart Tolle, so I love his work. It really does speak to me, and yeah, I agree. The divine feminine is really helping to create more balance in everything. So I'm totally echoing what you said. I wanted to ask you, what tools do you use to help transform women's lives? Since we've been talking about women and the divine feminine, so I feel like that could be an important thing that people might want to know.
Yeah, so I've alluded to it already. So because I've trained in this methodology, it's the energy alignment method. So it works with all the energy centers. So it covers, it's quite sort of all encompassing, because we look at the Chinese energy meridians, the flow of chi. We also look at the Hindu practice, the Vedic practice of the chakras, and getting those in flow. Also the quantum physics aspect, and neuroscience, so that the fact that it's a system that actually releases the resistance, but it releases it from all levels of our energy, all forms of our energy, and all points in time. So that's a mantra that we repeat, because it's very significant, because we need to release what's gone on in the past to be able to be more present now, but also not to overly focus on the future and the anxieties or worries about that, because really standing, and that's the power of now with Eckhart Tolle, it really affirms that we need to stay truly present. And that's why I also accompany that methodology with the meditation, to bring us back into the present through breathing and guided meditations. Also, what brings us into the present is the gratitude practice. So something I've done religiously for, well, in fact, actually, I used to do it off and on, but now I do it more consistently. After having read The Magic by Rhonda Byrne, the author of The Secret. And so she has a 30-day book where you actually go through a practice of gratitudes, and you literally have to write 10 gratitudes and say them back with feeling from the heart energy. And that helps as well, because it really does ground you, really brings you back to where you are now. It's not focusing on what the gap between where you are and where you want to be. It's really bringing it down to the present, focusing on all that's positive in your life. Because when we start thinking these more, I suppose it is affluent thoughts, even though we don't feel the money affluence now, but it's feeling this, that we have enough where we are now, because that will attract more of the same positive. So if we want more love, if we want more monetary abundance, if we want more health, better health, then if we focus on what we have now and say, I really appreciate that I can breathe, that I've got this really powerful heart that pumps vital blood to my organs and my cells of my body. Even though if we got a sort of an ailment in our knees, just because actually focusing on that will only cause more affliction, more pain. So we need to take away that attention from what's causing us distress and pain, to focus on what we have, the positives. And that's why, you know, I mean, all the lead, you know, spiritual gurus and things like that, they always do this meditation and the gratitude because they are so powerful. So those three things, and if you like, because the energy alignment method uses a type of affirmation with its mantra. So we always welcome when we release any resistant energy, and sometimes that can be very heavy, dense energy that's called, well, we call it reversed energy. It's like that Groundhog Day where you feel like you're always stuck, deja vu, things never seem to move, no matter how hard you try. And so that's just a more dense contracted energy compared to resistant energy. Resistant energy is when you feel like you're going forward but you're being tugged back by your jump is being tugged back, you know, by the naughty rascal in the playground pulling you back. But yeah, so but being in flow, you know, is important. So we need to, so all these practices, so yeah, and then we also align with the same mantra to positive. So when we actually release anything, we don't leave a void. We always align to very high energy of feeling empowered, feeling love, and feeling joy. And love is critical for ourselves as much as for others, because being part of this quantum field, this web, is that if we don't feel the love for ourselves, we can't feel it for others. And that's why the Bible alludes to love thy neighbor as thyself. It's important because the love for self is like this metaphor, this, you know, this parallel with the oxygen mask in the airplane. Always look for yourself first, and or charge your glass so that it is as at least half full, if not full, because you can only give to others when you yourself you are topped up with high positive energy. So, and this comes back to what I say in my group as well, the importance, and to my clients, the importance of self-care. So before you start striking out thinking I've got to do X, Y, Z to get my business forward, it all comes back to taking time out for yourself, getting yourself back in flow, and nurturing yourself, respecting yourself, loving yourself, giving yourself the right self, you know, the right thoughts, you know, the way, thinking the right things, the positive things, and aligned to heart energy, loving yourself. So yeah. I created, you know, a self-love meditation because that was one of the first the very first meditation I wrote, and I still love it. I still even like listen to it myself. People say, "Oh, how can you listen to yourself?" I said, "Actually, I do find it very empowering and uplifting. It is very life affirming."
It is. It is. Yeah. I think it's. I actually tell my clients to say affirmations and listen to them in their voice rather than mine. Yeah. Because and I can do it for them, but I think when you hear your own voice saying it, especially like you said with the gratitude, with feeling, you know, and then you begin, like, it goes into your subconscious mind. You begin to create, you know, you begin to see opportunities that may have already existed, but you just never saw it because you didn't allow that lens to open.
And this is the power of speaking things out loud as well, because that carries its own energy. People think, "Oh, you're a bit batty, you're a bit woo-woo," when you do your EAM affirmation, you know, your alignment step, welcoming in this positive energy. And we do it with our arms upheld, and I think literally gone some other planet, you know. Or you've gone up into another dimension. You've gone really batty, yeah. So, but I think they forget that the words are very powerful in themselves, and the more you say them, it's all about this neuroscience. You know, we can fire off new neurons and, you know, hardwire them in a positive way rather than a negative way. And this is through repetition, so that's why the affirmations do work, and make sure that the feeling is injected into them as well when you're saying them out loud, because that has such force. And as you will know from the Japanese guy who did the Dr. Emoto Mazuru, I think it was, he did all these water crystal experiments, so projecting words, so comparing hateful words with loving words, and how when it is that the water's then frozen, how they form crystals, and the negative words create these ugly forms, crystal forms, and the loving words or classical, beautiful, uplifting music create these beautiful crystal shapes, water crystal shapes. It's amazing. Wow, that's amazing. And he's done that, you know, with music as well, with heavy metal compared to classical, as well as kind and hateful words, baleful words. So, or when you say hate, like he did even, you know, Hitler, and how it really changed the crystal shape. But yeah, you can look into that. It's on YouTube if you really are a skeptic and want to, but it's fascinating. I've done it myself with when I did a workshop or a networking event a couple of years ago, and I cooked some basmati rice, put them in 2 jars, and I gave them each 3 people two jars each, and I labeled them 1 love, 1 hate, and I said, over a period of time, I want you to focus hateful thoughts or words, even better, if you can vocalize those thoughts, put them into words, and really, for 1 jar, on the hate jar, I want you to put all hateful, nasty words, angry words, and on the other one, focus love and joy and, well-being and peace to that, but love especially, and to the love that was labeled love. And I had brought, one of them actually did it most, the other 2 couldn't stay consistent. The other one did it semi-consistently. She said I did it 2 or 3 times a week, and she gave it back to me several months later, and you should see the difference. The hate one shows like brown, lots of brown in it, and black. The rice had actually decomposed, and bear in mind that we're producing the same environment, held in the same environment.
Wow, interesting.
The loved one hardly had any contamination in it whatsoever. And because the importance of that experiment is that the water, so we're all about water, because there's a lot of water in rice when it's boiled. And when you think our body is like over 60% water, just remember what hateful words can do to our chemical, our molecular structure, where we're sending back, even if it's directed at ourselves, not necessarily what hateful words from other people, let alone the words that we say to ourselves. So think again, how it's going to affect us on a molecular and a cellular basis. It's very, very important that we speak kindly to ourselves, because it really will make our health more healthy, cells more healthy, and we will live longer as well when we're in higher vibration. It's not just happiness. It's all about longevity and living a healthier life.
Yes. Thank you for sharing that. So we're not just talking about your business or your relationships. We're talking about your health, your longevity, free of disease. It's super important. And I love that analogy, and even the experiment that you did, because it just shows, I was thinking to myself, like, why do children love their mother's food? Because it's made with love, all of our mothers, it's just, of course they love us. They're our moms, like, I don't know.
Well, it's not natural. Some people don't like their mothers.
That's true. But think of their moms, their grandmother's food, someone's, usually I found, even in my practice with my clients, there's always somebody in their family line, could it be grandfather? It could be somebody, an aunt, who they really felt connected to. And any time that they spent, or it was tea, it's always connected to some kind of liquid in the food. And they really felt wonderful. And when I take them back there, through our conversations, through methodologies, they begin to feel more open. So and then it opens up a lot more to heal and to bring in the new. So I think it's such an important practice. So thank you for sharing that. I really do.
Yeah, I know it wasn't quite scripted, or we went a little bit off track.
It's very important.
Our words, and the immersive power of words.
Especially now, I know we're going to a close, but especially now during this time, when, and I think all the time we're so hard on ourselves. We really are. We want to be better. And I know we're all growing, and we're all desiring more for our lives. But I think the gratefulness practice that you shared, and the compassion and the love, it's such an important part of our, needs to be an important part of our daily life, because the more that we say the nice things to ourselves, and not to others, like you said, to ourselves, that really creates a difference. So I want to also talk about your free gift for those who are watching, and I could put a link, and we'll share that in a bit. But go ahead, if you could say a few things about it.
Yeah, okay. So I've put together like a checklist. Well, no, it's a checklist. It's a list of, it's a 50 powerful affirmations. So 10 per area. So 10 to help you with your health, 10 to help you with your wealth, your abundance, your financial abundance, 10 to help you with your self-love, self-empowerment, and and the 10 for general well-being. So it covers all those areas, and these are powerful affirmations to help you practice them as much as possible, preferably daily, but they will help you create a better life. But you have to do it with the heart energy, be heart connected. So you have to do it with feeling. It's not just sort of saying them by rote. And in the introduction to those affirmations, I give you some instructions as to how best to use them and the best way of doing it. So, and it is also with an idea that you visualize that as well, that new state that you're in, whatever that is.
That is fantastic. I'm just writing it up, and so I'm just going to keep putting it here, whoever will be watching, just showing that you are giving 50 empowering affirmations. And how can they receive that, Esther?
So just connect with me, and then put your name in the comment, or just if you're not friends with me already, or you can just reach out and connect with me, and then direct message me, and I'll send it across.
Okay, great. So connect with you via Facebook.
Yeah, Facebook. Yeah.
Okay, great.
Yeah, my website is energy-transformations.com. So there's an email address there as well if you want to connect by email instead. That's totally fine.
Energy-transformation.com?
Yeah, energy-transformations.com. Yeah.
Okay, so I'll just put it up here for anyone who might be listening, and sometimes you like to see a visual. Yeah. So that is fantastic. And I just wanted to thank you, Esther, for all of this amazing information. And I don't see anyone at the moment, so there may be questions after or in the replay. So we'll definitely keep an eye on it, and I'll let you know if I see any. And I think work is really important. I think that the more that we can align to our heart energy and be in flow, it really helps us, as we already mentioned, in all aspects of our life. Yeah. Especially now where we're all feeling very stretched and not sure about what's going on in the future. But as you had already said, the gratitude, being compassionate, as we discussed already, that these are so many things. There's so many tools here that can be utilized like right now. Yeah. So it's super important.
Yeah, because we were discussing before we went live, it's like something has hit us, our energy over the last couple of days. And I've been a little bit on a downer, not seriously bad, but I can tell that when I'm getting out of flow, sometimes that's when I'm doing too much and I'm staying up too late, and I'm forgetting that self-care piece. But it's also something else when I forget that the heart needs to lead. and I've taken too much sort of head-directed action and not enough heart-directed action. So that for me has been a powerful lesson. But then again, is then talking about slowing down, going easy on yourself, being kind to yourself, being loving, because that's where it all starts. The flow starts when you start being loving to yourself first and foremost. Yeah.
Right. Kind and loving to yourself, and feeling into your heart space.
Yeah. So finish on that.
Yes, I love that as well. And so if any of you again are interested in connecting with Esther, I'll be putting her Facebook profile here in the comments when we're done. And if you don't, or you can follow me and see where she is. And then you can also go to energy-transformations.com. And if you'd like to connect with me, I am at gilanahemia.com, and I also work on healing the heart through transforming trauma, really working with your heart space as to open up to your desires, as we were talking about, into the flow. And that I think is very important to be able to visualize what it is that you're desiring. So if you'd like more of either of our treatments, our methodologies, I think it's just so important at this time. So thank you, Esther, for being here. Thank everyone for watching here or on the replay. And we look forward to hearing from you.
Thank you, Gila. It's been a real treat for me too. Thank you.
Yes, I love always connecting with you.